All right, today's lesson is a continuation of 7.8.1, which is on long division. So, our first example today, we're just going to be doing the long division again to show you the process over and over. We are being asked to divide x cubed minus 1 by x minus 1. And we talked about how important this setup is. So we need to know how to write this first of all. And this problem is going to be a little bit different than the previous problem. So we have x cubed minus 1, but when we write the long division, we actually have to make sure that we write every term, even if it doesn't actually exist. And what I mean by that is, I write the x cubed, but instead of just writing x cubed minus 1, I'm going to write x cubed plus 0x squared, because there really is no x squared term in this polynomial, plus 0x, because there really is no x term in this polynomial, minus 1. And I need those 0x squared and 0x terms in there, sort of like for placeholders, so that the process still works. And you'll see how it goes as we go through this problem. And of course, that all is being divided by x minus 1. So now that we've written the problem out, we're ready to actually do the long division. So we start out by asking, how many times does x go into x cubed? In other words, what times x gives us x cubed? And we know that x squared times x gives us x cubed. So now we multiply x squared times x, and we get x cubed. And then we multiply x squared times negative 1, and we get negative x squared. Now we're ready to subtract this whole polynomial here. So we have x cubed minus x cubed, which of course is 0. And then we have 0x squared minus negative x squared, which is really 0x squared plus x squared. So we end up with 1x squared when we subtract there. And now we bring down these other terms. So we have plus 0x and minus 1. So now we ask ourselves, how many times does x go into x squared? And the answer to that is x number of times. So we put plus x up here, and now we multiply. X times x gives us x squared, and x times negative 1 gives us negative x. And we subtract that. X squared minus x squared is 0. 0x minus negative x is the same as 0x plus x, and so that is a 1x, and we bring down the minus 1. And to finish off now, we're going to ask ourselves, how many times does x go into x? And the answer there, of course, is 1. So we put plus 1, and then we multiply. 1 times x is x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And we subtract, and we see that we end up with a remainder of 0, which again is very important. We have to understand what this means. It means that x minus 1 is a factor of x cubed minus 1. All right, so here's our last example with long division, and it's quite a long polynomial. So we have 2x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 2 divided by x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now notice that our polynomial under the division sign has all the terms already, meaning It has x to the fourth, x to the third, x squared, x, and then a constant, right? If it didn't have any of those terms, we would put a 0, whatever, 0x cubed, 0x squared. We would put that in that place to, to hold the place so that the process worked. But since it has it, let's just start doing the long division. So first thing to ask is, how many times does x squared go into 2x to the fourth? And the answer to that is 2x squared. So 2x squared times x squared is 2x to the fourth. Then we do 2x squared times positive 2x, and that'll be positive 4x cubed. And then we do 2x squared times negative 3, which will be negative 6x squared. Now we subtract. So we're going to have 2x to the fourth minus 2x to the fourth, which is 0, so that's gone. We're going to have 4x cubed minus 4x cubed, so that's 0, so that's gone. And then we have negative 5x squared minus negative 6x squared, which is the same as negative 5x squared plus 6x squared, which results in just x squared. Now bring down your next two terms. So plus 3x and minus 2. And do it all over again. So now we ask, how many times does x squared go into x squared? Well, the answer is once. So we put plus 1. And now we multiply. 1 times x squared is x squared. 1 times 2x is 2x. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. And now we subtract. X squared minus x squared is 0. 3x minus 2x is just x. And negative 2 minus negative 3 is the same as negative 2 plus 3. So that's plus 1. So at this point, we obviously have a remainder because we finished up top, right, with our constant right here, this plus 1. So we are done at this point. There aren't any more terms to bring down. And so this means that x squared plus 2x minus 3 is not a factor of 2x to the fourth plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 2, because we have a remainder, right? If we wanted to write our answer out with the remainder, we would write it as 2x squared plus 1, and then we would put the remainder over x squared plus 2x minus 3.